Evening. It being 7 p.m. on the 16th day of October 2023 in the town of Grafton, I call this annual town meeting to order. Welcome to Fall Town Meeting. My name is Dawn Anderson and I am the town moderator. I respectfully ask that I be addressed as Madam Moderator. My first order of business is to appoint Roger Trahan as Deputy Moderator. Thank you, Roger, for stepping up tonight. I want to do a quick AV check to make sure those in the common area can hear me. Can someone check? Usually one of the police officers is right there to be able to do this, but are the microphones working in the common area? Okay, we have a thumbs up. Visitors that are associated with boards or committees may sit with those boards or committees if they have cleared it with me prior to the start of the meeting. The town of Grafton is pleased to announce for our viewing audience at home, this meeting is being offered in closed caption. If you would like to speak on an article, please proceed to the nearest microphone and wait to be called on by the moderator. In the event you are unable to navigate to the microphones, we have 2 wireless microphones available. Please raise your hand and call for a point of personal privilege, and the wireless microphone will be brought to you by a member of Grafton High School, Alex and Lorenzo. Can you guys wave for me? There they are. So if you need a microphone, they can bring it to you. Otherwise, please come down to the front. Please remember to state your full name and address clearly and loudly each time you address town meeting so that we can record your information. Shouting or outbursts will not be tolerated at any time. Tonight, the voting will be done using electronic voting remote controls. Did everyone get a remote control when they checked in? Excellent. And can you all hear me in the microphone? Excellent. Now we're going to do a quick test. Press 1. Your electronic voter will show you the number that corresponds with yes or no, depending on how you voted, and a little OK symbol will come up next to it that lets you know your vote has been recorded. Close vote. Okay, we had 96 total votes. We are good. The town clerk would like me to remind you all that these do not work outside of this auditorium, and please return your Town of Grafton clickers back in at the end of the evening before you leave. I would like now to ask the chair of the Select Board to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Matt Often.
To the republic
for which it
stands
one nation, under God, in
liberty
and justice
for all.
Thank you. Now for some introductions. Town Administrator Evan Prasad, Assistant Town Administrator William Blake, who is point man for our electronic voting, Town Clerk Candy LaValle, and our Town Attorney Ginny Kramer. Our Representative David Meridian is in the audience this evening. Thank you for coming, Dave. I would now like to ask our Town Clerk Candy LaValle to read the return of the warrant.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Town of Grafton, Annual Town Meeting, October 16, 2023 warrant. To any of the constables of the Town of Grafton, the County of Worcester, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the Town of Grafton qualified to vote in elections and town affairs to meet in the high school located at 24 Providence Road on Monday, the 16th day of October 2023 at 7 p.m. to act on the following articles. And you are directed to serve this warrant by posting up an attested copy thereof in some conspicuous place in each of the precincts of the town at least 14 days before said meeting. Hereof fail not and make due return of this warrant with your doings thereon to the town clerk at the time of and place of meeting as aforesaid. Given under our hands this 19th day of September in the year of our Lord 2023. Select Board, Town of Grafton. Matthew Offen, Chair. Andrew Jefferson, Vice Chair. Anne Marie Foley, Clerk. Mark Alamo. Raymond Mead. I have complied with the requirements of the above warrant and with the Town of Grafton bylaws by posting an attest copy of the warrant in some conspicuous place in each of the precincts of the town on the above date. Marianne DeFries, Constable of Grafton.
Thank you, Candy. We have a few more people in the room, and I want to test the clickers one more time. This time, I want everybody to press no. Voting is closed. Excellent, thank you. I'm just going to review. We have, tonight we have a single consent agenda on the warrant. It encompasses Articles 1 through 41. They're based upon the review of our town bylaws by the Bylaw Study Committee. Once the main motion to have these articles is made for them to be passed by consent, I will allow the Bylaw Study Committee to make a brief statement. I will then read each article number individually. If any voter objects to any article or would like to hold, please state hold in a loud voice when that article number is called. That article will be removed from the consent agenda and restored to its place in the warrant to be debated and voted upon in the usual manner. After I've called all of the individual articles in the consent agenda, I will ask for a motion that voters pass all remaining consent agenda articles as a unit with a single vote. Consent agenda 1.
Madam Moderator,
Matt Often.
I move the town vote to act upon Article 1 through 41 and that they be passed by consent.
Second.
Before I read each article number, the Bylaw Study Committee would like to make a brief statement.
Have a slide after the consent motion? There we go. All right. So just a brief summary of the Bylaw Study Committee's work here. The mission of the Bylaw Study Committee, as you can see here, was to review the general bylaws and propose revisions for adoption at the October 2023 town meeting. This committee was created in 2022 following the town charter, section 7-7B, which requires bylaw review every 5 years. Now, the last bylaw review actually was completed 20 years ago, so we had a little bit of work to catch up on. Next slide. This is your Bylaw Study Committee. Myself, David Robbins, the chair of the committee, also the town administrator's designee. Greg Marr, the vice chair of the committee, he's representing the finance committee. Brian Langevin, the clerk of the Bylaw Study Committee, was the at-large member. Andy Jefferson was representing the select board on this committee, and Skip Courier is the town clerk designee. So this group of 5 people worked pretty hard, and I would like to commend the participation of every one of these committee members. It was a lot of work, and everybody contributed. So very briefly, what the committee undertook to do was a thorough review of the general bylaws from top to bottom, looking at typos, spelling, grammar, paragraph numbering, consistency among bylaw articles, consistency and conflicts with the town charter. We looked to revise or eliminate bylaw provisions that have become out of date and add new provisions where they were needed. The committee solicited comments and suggestions from the town officers and agencies responsible for administration of the bylaws and from the general public. We got a lot of good participation, which helped us out greatly. Next slide. The committee produced a final report. It's rather lengthy, approaching 200 pages, available on the Bylaw Study Committee page on the town website, also available on the web page for this town meeting. It's a full report with a very detailed explanation of the committee's work and all the results, including a complete set of the bylaws with all the recommended changes highlighted for easy reading. So if you really wanted to read through that and see what we changed, the warrant tends not to be so easy to read because it's sort of add this, do this, and that. But you read the committee's report, you'll see everything and accompanied by an explanation of the changes in the various bylaws. The committee also found a few charter changes that arose out of our review of the bylaws. Those are recommended, that's in the report, and also later on in this town meeting, a few warrant articles. And we also came up with a number of recommendations for post-town meeting follow-up, things that either didn't fit in as a bylaw revision or didn't seem to need more work than the committee had time available. So those are also in the report. Just briefly summarizing those post-town meeting follow-up recommendations. The personnel bylaw is in need of a comprehensive update. After reviewing that for a while, the town administrator realized that they've got a lot of work to do, not only in the bylaw, but also in personnel policies and procedures. So Evan there is undertaking the real meat of updating the personnel bylaw. We mostly left it alone except for a few minor tweaks. There's considerable interest in a noise bylaw. We looked at that for a while, and that seemed to be a topic that really deserved more focused attention than the bylaw committee was able to give it. So that's another recommended follow-up, that we organize some sort of a focused effort on a noise bylaw. There's a section on licenses and permits of delinquent taxpayers, Article 26 of the bylaw. There's a select board policy that overlaps with that. More work is needed to reconcile those two to understand how they overlap. The committee has a suggestion for a standing bylaw review committee of some kind. We don't really know how best to organize that, but it would be helpful to evaluate proposed bylaws for consistency of format and content with existing bylaws. A number of the items that we ran across and are proposing corrections for arise out of doing things like adopting model bylaws without really tailoring the language to Grafton. So there seems to be some value in that. Again, the report goes into more detail on that. Our experience with the last 3 years or so of meetings during pandemic time has sort of raised the possibility that the open meeting law is going to be changed. That's something we'll want to keep an eye on for possible impact on our bylaws. And then we had a few suggestions for improvements in clarity of the town charter document, not the charter per se, but how the document is written. Again, refer to the report for all the details. I've said enough on that. Next slide. This may be just about my last one. Just sort of an overview of some of the revisions that we've made throughout the bylaws. Quite a number of editorial, non-substantive revisions. We look to eliminate gender-specific terminology, picked up a lot of typographical and spelling errors, grammar that could be improved, sections, subsections, paragraph and numbering, again, for consistency and clarity. A lot of general revisions, rewording for clarity wherever that seemed to be appropriate. We revised provisions for posting of notices for consistency and also to make sure that notices everywhere are required to be posted on the town website as well as published in a newspaper. Fines in some cases were updated. Redundancies and outdated provisions were revised or eliminated. Consistency with statute, with charter, with bylaws, and current practices. We found a few cases where the Attorney General approval of previous bylaws had recommended some further changes. We responded to that where it made sense. We also corrected some past editing glitches that we found in the current official published version of the bylaws. And with that, enough said about, generally speaking, what you can expect. Let's get into the details.
Thank you, Dave, and the Bylaw Study Committee for all the work you put into this. So now I will read each article number. Article 1. Article 2. Article 3. Article 4. Article 5. Article 6. Article 7, Article 8, Article 9, Article 10, Article 11, Article 12, Article 13, Article 14, Article 15, Article 16, Article 17, Article 18, Article 19, Article 20, Article 21, Article 22, Article 23, Article 24, Article 25, Article 26, Article 27, Article 28, Article 29, Article 30, Article 31, Article 32, Article 33, Article 34, Article 35, Article 36, Article 37, Article 38, Article 39, Article 40, Article 41. Article 22 will be polled and voted upon in its usual order. And I have a motion for all remaining articles in this consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion has carried 122 to 8. Article 22.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Often.
I move that the town vote to amend Article 22 of the Grafton General Bylaws as detailed in Article 22 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, and further vote to authorize non-substantive changes to the lettering, numbering, and pagination of the zoning bylaw to be consistent with said bylaw.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion on Article 22. Hi.
Bill Hanley, 38 Brigham Hill Road. I live next to the road going into the dam. And Section 1, it says here, watercraft used on Lake Ripple are limited to motors, maximum of 5 horsepower. Every week, I see people going in the back with 200, 150, 100 horsepower motors on boats and trailers. Whether they use them in the lake or not, I have no idea. However, I also, Section 6, I noticed drinking out at the dam. I removed beer cans from my lawn on the side road going out there. I know what's going on. I would ask that you would put some kind of signage at the lake, either at the dam or on the road to go in, to make sure that people know what's going on out there and they know what the rules are going to be. There's a sign out there now. It talks about dusk to dawn. People are out there after hours. I call the police. They show up. They kick them out. But the sign is not legible. It's not big enough. So if you could probably put some kind of signage out there, let the people know what's going on. And if you do that, please let me know. So, because my driveway is, when I back out of my driveway, that sign would maybe in my way, seeing the traffic coming down. It's a tough curve there. So if you could let me know that. Thank you very much.
Is there any other discussion on the article? Hearing none, all those in favor of Article 22, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried by the required majority, 122 to 7. Article 42.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the town clerk or their designee in consultation with the town administrator or their designee to make such non-substantive editorial revisions as may be necessary or appropriate to the bylaws as amended by this town meeting for consistency of formatting and presentation, included but not limited to abbreviations, terminology, references to the general laws, section and subsection labels and headings, list styles, spelling, capitalization, and document structure.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion has carried, 126 to 7. Article 43.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Jefferson?
I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to petition the General Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to amend Article 3, Section 3-8, titled Grafton Housing Authority of the Grafton Home Rule Charter as detailed in Article 43 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on Article 43? Hearing none. All those in favor, please press 1. All those opposed, please press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried, 104 to 21.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Foley?
I move that the town...
Oh, wait. Article 44. Sorry.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to petition the General Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to amend Article 3, Section 3-2, Select Board, amend Article 4, Town Administrator, and amend Article 7, Section 7-5, Definitions of the Grafton Home Rule Charter as detailed in Article 44 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on Article 44? Hearing none, all those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried, 116 to 13. Article 45.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Alamo?
I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to petition the General Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for a special act to amend the Grafton Home Rule Charter by deleting Article 8, transitional provisions in its entirety. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none. All those in favor, please press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried, 112 to 13. Article 46.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Mead.
I move that the town vote to amend Section 3.12 zoning map of the Grafton zoning bylaws as detailed in Article 46 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, and further vote to authorize non-substantive changes to the lettering, numbering, and pagination of the zoning bylaw to be consistent with said bylaw.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Before this is open for discussion, I believe the Planning Board would like to make a brief presentation.
David Robbins, 92 George Hill Road, member of the Planning Board. We have the Planning Board report. The public hearing was opened on September 25th, 2023, and was continued to October 2nd, 2023, then October 12th, 2023. At its meeting on October 12th, 2023, the Planning Board conducted a public hearing to consider the proposed amendments to the Grafton zoning bylaws and Town of Grafton zoning map to create the MBT Communities Overlay District. The new district will include 5 areas as identified and shown on the map entitled MCMOD 1, MCMOD 2, MCMOD3, MCMOD4, and NCNOD5. The modification ensures the town of Grafton is in compliance with Section 3A of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, and provides the mandatory accompanying changes to the zoning bylaw text updates, which are addressed in Article 47. Board members present were Chairman Robert Hassinger, Vice Chairman David Robbins, Clerk Justin Wood, and members Prabhu Venkatraman and James Davidson. No public comment on this article was received. The article was recommended by the town planner and the planning board to comply with the new Section 3A law within the designated time frame as mandated by the state's Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, as well as provide clarity to those interpreting the zoning map. Based on the board's deliberations on the merits of the proposed amendment, the planning board voted 5 in favor and 0 opposed on October 12, 2023 to recommend Article 46. And what you see on the screen or in the handouts is the zoning map of the town of Grafton. Article 46 adds a single zone comprised of 5 separate areas, which are rather difficult to see on the map unless you look at it closely. But the areas on the map that are part of this zone are in North Grafton, the existing North Grafton Transit Village Overlay District, also known as 8 Pine Street, the proposed Subdistrict B at 8 5 Millennium Drive, the Village Mixed Use Gateway District on Upton Street around the old highway barn, the Fisherville Smart Growth Overlay District in South Grafton where the mill used to be, and a portion of the Village Mixed Use South Grafton District around the Farnhamsville area. So without scrutinizing the detailed map, I think that's the best way I can describe those zoning map changes. And as noted in the report, Article 47 is the zoning bylaw amendment to go along with this.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion has carried 116 to 23. Article 47.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Often.
I move that the town vote to add Section 14, MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, to the Grafton zoning bylaws as detailed in Article 47 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, and further vote to authorize non-substantive changes to the lettering, numbering, and pagination of the zone bylaw to be consistent with said bylaw.
Yes, Madam Moderator, Roger Trahan, 4 Old Upton Road.
One moment. There's a,
Report of the planning board.
yep,
Sorry about that.
sorry. You were so excited. The planning board would like to make a brief presentation.
So again, I have the report of the planning board, which was handed out in more detail, but
Name and address.
name and address. Yeah, David Robbins, 92 George Hill Road, Vice Chair of the Planning Board. Just for the record. The report of the planning board, the public hearing, again, this is in Article 47. The public hearing was opened on September 25th, 2023, was continued to October 2nd, 2023, then October 12th, 2023. At its meeting on October 12th, 2023, the Grafton Planning Board conducted a public hearing to consider the proposed additions to the Grafton zoning bylaws to add a new Section 14 entitled MBTA Communities Overlay District. The new section of the zoning bylaw is required by the EOHLC, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, formerly DHCD, to comply with Section 3A of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A. The proposed additions will require no changes to the underlying zoning within 4 subdistricts and will serve as an overlay zone with changes to the rental affordability threshold in 1 subdistrict, known as MCMOD2. The EOHLC will not approve affordability thresholds over 20% in compliance areas, requiring the reduction in the minimum percent of deed-restricted affordable housing required for rental projects in MCMOD2 from 25% to 20%. Board members present were Chairman Robert Hassinger, Vice Chairman David Robbins, Clerk Justin Wood, and members Prabhu Venkatraman and James Davidson. No public comment on this article was received. The town planner and the board reviewed the proposed article and recommend amendments to the language printed in the warrant as detailed in the planning board's printed report to reflect the determination of the affordability percentage, which was not known at the time the warrant was closed. Based on the board's deliberations on the merits of the proposed amendment, the planning board voted 5 in favor and 0 opposed on October 12, 2023 to recommend Article 47 and amend the language printed in the warrant as described in the report. And pursuant to that recommendation, I move that a motion for Article 47 be amended by inserting after the words as detailed in Article 47 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, the words with the changes listed for Article 47 in the handout entitled Fall Town Meeting 2023 Change Report. Copy of the motion.
Second.
Motion to amend has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of Article 47 as amended, please.
You have to vote on the amendment first.
Motion to amend. All those in favor to vote on the motion to amend. To amend the motion, sorry. Press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion to amend has been passed 117 to 18. Now we have to have a discussion on the motion as amended.
Okay. And back to these slides. Yeah, the summary of, just very briefly, after what was said in the planning report, we have some, just a little bit more detail on the purpose of this. The update is proposed, again, for the purpose of adding a section 14 to the zoning bylaw. The proposed zoning did undergo extensive review by the planning board throughout the winter, spring, and summer of 2023, gathering public and professional input from a variety of sources. To identify the speaker, David Robbins, 92 George Hill Roads, Vice Chair of the Planning Board. So a little bit more of the background of this. On August 10th, 2022, the Executive Office of Housing and Community Development issued final guidelines for the 177 MBTA communities to comply with Section 3A of the Zoning Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 48. This new law has, anybody who's been paying attention is aware, requires that an MBTA community, of which Grafton is one, must have at least one zoning district of reasonable size in which multifamily housing is permitted as of right to allow for a minimum density of 15 units per acre. Grafton is classified as what they term as an adjacent community, which means we can comply with this without having to include the entire zone within the half mile of the MBTA station. We can use districts anywhere in town to comply with this, which is helpful for us. And so we are proposing an overlay district. I sort of outlined that with the zoning map. It's a zoning district comprising 5 non-contiguous sub-districts, all of which are on areas in Grafton that are already basically in full compliance with the 3A, Section 3A. So we were fortunate that we don't have to create entirely new zoning to comply with this. You know, the only change, as was noted in the Planning Board report, the only change we actually have to make is to reduce the affordability requirement in one area where it's currently 25% for rental, and we have to reduce it to 20. But other than that, we were able to use existing districts which already allow multifamily by right up to a certain limit to comply with this. So it's been fairly easy for us. And with that, I think enough said. I'll be happy to answer any further questions that come up.
Roger Trahan for Old Upton Road. This is a very highly technical article, so I promise not to jump into the weeds. A few, maybe about 3 high-level questions through you, Madam Moderator, maybe to the town planner or to the planning board, whoever would speak to that. If you could go back to the prior slide in the middle, and maybe through you, Madam Moderator, is Mr. Robbins saying that we are in compliance with Section 3A of 40A, even if we don't pass this or vote this yes tonight?
Mr. Robbins.
Okay. The answer to that is if we don't vote yes for this, we are not in full compliance. That is as I said before, of the 5 sub-districts that are included in this, one of which is to be created under Article 48, but assuming that does happen. Of the 5 sub-districts here, 4 of them are fully compliant, or would be, but we need that 5th one to be included in the mix to get the total. So there's a total area requirement, a total unit count requirement, and those other 4 districts, without passing this section, we don't have enough to be fully compliant. So this is essential to achieve compliance. The essential part of this is to reduce the affordability level in a portion of South Grafton Village mixed use. But without that, we cannot comply. We come close, but we don't quite make it.
Any further questions?
Yeah, just a couple. It's my understanding that even with 40R, if we reach the 10% threshold under 40B, these still exist by right, that there's nothing we can do about limiting that. And along with that question, I may as well ask the final question. I think because of the so-called Chapter 70 monies, that the intrinsic nature of the wording of this article actually invites families to come on board and reside in these high-density districts, that the state under 40S will give us some money to account for that number of students. So I guess the question is, with this high density at full build-out, how many new students would that bring into the town? Have we done that study?
There's been no study done as to the number of students potential. We don't really have. It's difficult to estimate the potential new development under this, and it's worth pointing out that nothing in Article 47 opens up new opportunities for development. The opportunities for development already exist in the various zones. So Article 47 here does not open up any new opportunities for development that didn't already exist. And you mentioned 40R and 40S. 40R is a part of this, but not the whole thing. There are 3 of the 5 sub-districts of this are 40R. And in those, Chapter 40S does provide, if we can demonstrate that development in those 3 areas, has if we can demonstrate that we've incurred additional school expenses due to those developments in those three areas, 40S gives us money to compensate for that. But it's my understanding that 40S rarely ever comes into play in practice. But again, I want to emphasize that Article 47 here does not create any new opportunities for development that were not already present.
Thank you. No further questions. I think Mr. Robbins answered that key point, that there may have been some information in town where people thought this was going to create new opportunities for growth that didn't previously exist. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on Article 47?
Hi, Alexander Reno, 89 Keith Hill Road.
Can you get closer to the microphone,
Sorry.
hon? Thanks.
Alexander Reno, 89 Keith Hill Road. Pardon me, but does the fact that we're lowering the threshold for affordable housing, does that not mean that someone is planning on building more non-affordable housing? I just don't understand why we would be doing this if that weren't for if someone weren't trying to build more unaffordable housing.
Mr. Robbins, can you address that?
I think I can answer that. This is not predicated on any actual plans that we have heard about. The only reason that we are lowering the threshold in one area from 25 down to 20% is because the state will not accept for 3A compliance, will not approve a 25% affordability. We're basically forced by the state to lower the affordability threshold. It's doubtful that that has any practical impact on any potential development. It might, on the margins, make a development slightly more affordable for a developer to build, but again, we have no choice. We have to comply with Section 3A, and we have to comply with a 20% affordability threshold.
Are there any other questions on Article 47? One minute. Hearing none, all those in favor of Article 47 as amended, please press 1. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried 117 to 20.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Mead?
hang on.
Article 48.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Jefferson.
I move that the town vote to amend Section 13, North Grafton Transit Village Overlay District, NGTVOD, of the Grafton zoning bylaw as detailed in Article 48 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, and further vote to authorize non-substantive changes to the lettering, numbering, and pagination of the zoning bylaw to be consistent with said bylaw.
Motion made and seconded. Before we open discussion, the Planning Board would like to make a brief presentation.
Okay. Once again, David Robbins, 92 George Hill Road, Vice Chair of the Planning Board. I have the Planning Board report for Article 48. The public hearing was opened on September 25th, 2023, and was continued to October 2nd, 2023, then October 12th, 2023. At its meeting on October 2nd and October 12th, 2023, the Grafton Planning Board conducted a public hearing to consider the proposed amendments to the Grafton zoning bylaws to create a Subdistrict B under Section 13, with associated modifications to Sections 13.1 purpose through 13.17 severability, as well as changes recommended by the EOHLC, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. The purpose of this article is to allow for multifamily use with a minimum density of 20 dwelling units per developable acre and a maximum density of 26 dwelling units per developable acre, a leasing office, a residence-only health club, and customary accessory uses to the principal multifamily use in the existing North Grafton Transit Village Overlay District zone, also known as a Chapter 40R Smart Growth Overlay District. The board members present were Chairman Robert Hassinger, Vice Chairman David Robbins, Clerk Justin Wood, and members Prabhu Venkatraman and James Davidson. The board received public comment regarding the EOHLC tentative approval and suggestions for the proposed warrant article language. The article was recommended by the town planner and the planning board to utilize the subdistrict to comply with Section 3A of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, as we've discussed in the previous warrant article, facilitate the production of affordable housing and catalyze development on a challenging site that has long sat vacant. The article was predicated upon the need for the zoning bylaw to reflect changes to multifamily density requirements as approved by town meeting before submission to district compliance approval. The town planner and the board review the proposed article and recommend amendments to the language printed in the warrant, detailed in the planning board's printed report and summarized as resolving ambiguities in the formatting and wording of the warrant article, aligning with the current text of the zoning bylaw due to much of the proposed wording in the warrant article having originated in the state's markup done in 2019 based upon the 2017 zoning bylaw. Also aligning with current Chapter 40R statute and regulations based on markup and comments received from the state after the warrant was closed. And finally, making changes in formatting, grammar, and punctuation also identified after the warrant was closed. Based on the board's deliberations on the merits of the proposed amendment, the planning board voted 5 in favor and 0 opposed on October 12, 2023 to recommend Article 48 and amend the language printed in the warrant as described in the planning board's report. And based on that, I move that the motion for Article 48 be amended by inserting after the words as detailed in Article 48 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, the words with the changes listed for Article 48 in the handout entitled Fall Town Meeting 2023 Change Report.
Second.
And while I am here, I might as well take a moment to talk a little bit more about the proposed amendments. Again, without repeating what I just said in the planning board report, altogether to add subzone B and otherwise revise section, that 40R district overall, the proposed changes include modifying the zoning language as we've discussed, updating the design guidelines of the subzone. The design guidelines are not a town meeting vote, but they're part and parcel of getting the state to approve the change to the 40R district. Again, the proposed subzone B underwent extensive review throughout the spring and summer. The select board voted to send the 40R application package to the state on July 18th, 2023, and here we are. This is part and parcel of getting that all done. Worth noting that the new subzone B will provide incentive payments to the town along with much needed housing at 20% affordability, again, that 3A limit, transit-oriented living opportunities. Important to note that this is right near, this is 5 Millennium Drive is a parcel. It's immediately adjacent to the commuter rail station. So the housing that this is going to enable is very much in line with the MBTA communities. It's very much in line with the idea of transit-oriented development which is something that we've envisioned for this area. Next slide. So again, the land has long served as a vacant industrial parcel. It's right behind the MBTA parking lot. It's been targeted for industrial development since the 1990s, but this particular parcel has not yet been developed, and partly because the site sits on a prominent hill with steep slopes that substantially limit future development. Back in 2017, we did a strategic plan for the North Grafton Transit Village area. One part of that plan identified this specific parcel that we are now proposing as Subzone B, identified this specific parcel as an opportunity for multifamily transit-oriented housing development. So that's part and parcel of why we're here.
The motion to amend has been seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried 109 to 20. We'll now take up Article 48 as amended.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Marr.
Greg Marr, 36 Ferry Street, Chair of the Grafton Finance Committee. The Grafton Finance Committee met this evening prior to the meeting and reviewed the amended article. We have voted unanimously to recommend passage of the article as amended.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on the article as amended?
Roger Trahan, 4 Old Upton Road. If you could just turn to the prior slide, I just wanted to see, I'm seeking clarification whether, or the one that showed the hillside, whatever that was. All right, yeah, the middle picture. So it's my understanding that the state is giving us money, like incentive monies, to basically blast that hill for the purposes of clearing it for multifamily housing. Is that correct?
The planning board speak to that, please.
The planning board might be able to speak to that. David Robbins, 92 George Hill Road, Vice Chair of the Planning Board. It is my understanding that the hill is not going to be blasted. That is, the developer who's looking at this is looking to avoid doing anything to the hill. To the best of my recollection, maybe a modest amount, but really no. They actually expanded their parcel slightly to give them the area, non-hill area, some useful developable area.
And one more question, and I think I understood Mr. Robbins correctly when he first spoke, that this is not in the middle of Centec. My first thought was, why put multifamily in the middle of Centec Park? But if I understand you correctly, this is not in the middle, but it's closest to the T station and on the outskirts?
Yeah. Yes, that is correct. This parcel is, the one side of the parcel directly abuts the property of the T station. There is a street on the other side, Millennium Drive, and on the western side of it is Primary Colors. On the eastern side of it, off the top of my head, I don't remember if there's anything right there, but yes, it's not smack dab in the middle of Centec Park. It's on the edge.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just had one more comment. I find it, I guess, troubling that the state is always chomping at the bit to incentivize multi-family high-density development, but where was the state to sort of prep the site to make it buildable for its original use as an industrial building, but I don't have any objection. But just want to make that point. I wish the state would incentivize actually putting an industrial building in the zone that was originally meant for that purpose. Thank you.
Fiona?
Madam Moderator, thanks for having me. Fiona Coughlin, Town Planner for the Town of Grafton. I just wanted to respond to a comment brought up by Mr. Trahan. Blasting will be required for this site. It is very, very likely that that will be needed. Of course, the developer will be conducting the appropriate surveys and all of the necessary groundwork that needs to be done prior to blasting, as with any other development process, but I just wanted to provide that clarification. Thank you.
Come on down.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Bill Yeomans, and I'm at 297 Providence Road in South Grafton. I'm a member at large of the ZBA, but I rise tonight to speak only as a resident. I'm not speaking for the board on which I serve. We all acknowledge that Grafton has a pressing need for affordable housing, including 3-bedroom units to accommodate eligible Grafton workforce families. The housing developer, Claremont Company, first came before the board on the select board on February 14th of this year, seeking endorsement of a proposed 233 rental housing project at 5 Millennium Drive as a LIP, a local initiative program, 40B comprehensive permit to be built on a lot in an office light industry zone. The project was select board endorsed as a 40B LIP, allowing it to move forward in the hearing process. However, at a select board meeting on July 18th, 2023, the Claremont Company attorney proposed changing the LIP 40B rental project to a 40R smart growth zone sub-district B project. This change is totally dependent on Article 48 passing tonight to create the 40R smart growth zone sub-district B specifically for the 5 Millennium Drive parcel. However, the project now proposed as a 40R smart growth zone project contains a few different state-mandated conditions from those imposed on 40B comprehensive permits. I'm going to vote against this Article 48 for a few reasons. Reason one, as a 40B comp permit, 25 or 59 of the 233 rental housing units proposed must be affordable units, whereas in a 40R smart growth zone project, only 20% or 47 must be affordable units. This will be a loss of 12 affordable housing units for the same project going from a 40B to a 40R. Reason two, in a 40B comprehensive permit project, 10% of the affordable housing units must be 3-bedroom units. So in this case, 6 of the 59 affordable units in this project would be 3-bedroom units, better accommodating workforce families in Grafton. Whereas if a 40R smart growth project in that zone, there is no mandate for 3-bedroom affordable housing units, and none are proposed as affordable, although what is proposed will contain 3-bedroom units. Reason three, as a 40B comprehensive permit for rental housing with 25% affordable housing units, all 233 housing units will count towards our subsidized housing inventory target number, an important number. Whereas as a 40R, with only a 20% requirement for affordable units, only the 47 affordable rental units, 186 less, will count towards our subsidized housing inventory target number. A perpetuity. All 40B comprehensive permits produced affordable housing units must be held in perpetuity, whereas a 40R smart growth project does not require perpetuity for affordable units. Last but not least, and I think Roger, mentioned Millennium Drive. Millennium Drive activity. An existing successful company on an abutting lot, Primary Colors, has met and brought up to the Select Board valid concerns about residential housing being built in the OLI zone. New building activity. The Planning Board has approved on Millennium Drive a new 30,000 square foot, one-story industrial type metal building, and it's going to be built at the end of Millennium Drive. I think this is evidence of successful interest in this OLI zone. And in closing, this 5 Millennium Drive parcel is properly zoned office light industry and should not be changed to allow a rental complex to be built on it. A 40R smart growth zone parcel on Pine Street, almost across the street from the Millennium Drive parcel, lies vacant. I feel that the town should think about using town action and resources to encourage filling that now fallow 40R smart growth parcel with this type of rental project rather than allowing this project to be built on an OLI zone parcel. I'm voting no, and I ask that you consider voting no as well. Thank you.
Madam Moderator. Thank you. Mr. Yeoman is and I respect his opinion and always has and always have. This project is going on, and he's right, it's going at Millennium Drive, probably one of the worst piece of properties that we have as far as site work goes. And I think you've heard that there's ledge there, and this developer has to deal with the ledge. And at one point, there was talk about blasting, and yes, Primary Colors came in and said that they were concerned about blasting. But they're going to minimize the blasting, and they're going to be doing some hammering to level it off to put their foundations on. This piece of property has been available and for sale for 28 years. That's a long time. And no one has purchased it because of its site work conditions. And that's the big issue. This apartment complex, and everybody in here knows how many apartment complexes are being proposed within the town, almost everybody knows, how many apartment complexes are being proposed in the town. And people always say, well, the traffic and the this and the crowding and this. You're not, unless you go to the MBTA parking lot and park there, you're not going to see this building. And yeah, there's going to be 230 apartments there, but you're not going to see it. And it is going to connect to the parking lot for the MBTA station. The board voted to allow this, and Mr. Yeomans is correct that we did initially look at a LIP for this project, and then the developer decided to go 40R. I think it's a good project. I think it's a good project for the town. It will bring in tax revenue. We will have a piece of property that we actually sold or that was actually purchased to do something. and not let another piece of property sit for 28 years. So I encourage you to vote yes. The developer is very, very active in affordable housing and apartments, and they're a very, very good developer. They have the money to do this project. Mr. Yeomans brought up 8 Pine Street. 8 Pine Street, the nice big building that we were going to build with all the retail and all of that and all of this, and it was going to be wonderful. It's a vacant lot. And it will stay a vacant lot for quite a while until we can get either someone else to purchase it, because the existing developer isn't going to do it. So I encourage you to vote yes.
Thank you. Mr. Yeomans?
I respect Ray and what he has to say. Bill Yeomans, 297 Providence Road, South Grafton, and I'll follow the lead of Dave in making sure that I note where I live. I looked again at the presentation that the developer's lawyer gave at the July meeting, and the fact is that this project, as it stands, if it's built there as a 40R project, the town stands to gain revenue of close to or $1 million over some period of time. $300,000 at the start, and then when a building permit is issued, as I understand it, $3,000 a unit. What I did was look at the conversations that you have all had, and I recall Matt often negotiating more 3-bedroom units in some of the lips that you've allowed, and it's important, I think, to look at that $1 million and to say, as I've often heard in Affordable Housing Trust meetings, what will $1 million buy you? By not allowing this as to go forward as a 40R, if it were to be built as a 40B, then if you would gain 16 additional affordable units, 6 of which would be 3-bedroom units. And when I look at that, I say, where can the town force a developer to build 16 affordable housing units for $1 million? It's not possible. Now, the developer, if we vote this down, they can come back and refile, or again, go into the process of the 40B filing, but then it's a 40B. So my feeling is that it's a good investment to drive affordable housing numbers that we can't afford to buy ourselves. So that's my argument. Divide the $1 million by the number of units, with including 6 3-bedroom units for families, and I look at that and say that's a pretty good deal for Grafton, considering everything I've looked at and heard over the past 5 years. Where are the cops supposed to live? Where are the teachers supposed to live? And never mind 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom units, I want 3-bedroom units. You know, where do you put your kids? And I say that this is a good project to turn down. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on the motion?
Madam Moderator, since my name was
Mr.
brought up.
Often.
Thank you.
Yes.
So Bill, I hope you watched our meeting in discussions with the developer. Your numbers are a little bit confused, so I just want to set a couple of things straight. We did clarify that we will be losing some units in the 40R district, but that is because we're adding that to the other sub-districts to be in compliance with the MBTA zoning laws that Massachusetts is imposing. So we don't have the option of imposing any more than 20% affordability requirement. That's just not an option for us. So we can't get up to that 25%. We also don't, since we're not in safe harbor, have the ability to dictate or even negotiate 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom units. They will build according to what the requirements are from, it used to be DHCD, but whatever it is now, it's a new name for the regulatory body. This is a good development. I'm shocked to hear, it doesn't seem like no matter where we put density in Grafton, there always seems to be a reason to say no to it. And I just don't understand that. So this isn't incompatible with the neighborhood, which is what we hear a lot of. We have the infrastructure. It's right next to the MBTA, commuter rail, which is, it's great. It's basically the same as what we would have had across the street on Pine Street. We're expanding opportunities for people to live in Grafton and commute into Boston, and that's fantastic. It's tax efficient. High-density residential is very tax efficient because you're not putting people on, half or 1-acre lots, right? These are not $1 million homes. I don't know who can afford those, but they're being built in Grafton. What we're not building is multifamily, and that's part of what we need. We need housing diversity in Grafton. It's really important. So I'm in full favor of this. It's all dovetailed together. The planning board has put a ton of work into making this all work together so that we get the right zoning in the right places to be able to be in compliance. And it is all dovetailed together. It all works together. We did the best we could to have discussions with the developer to get additional affordability, and we don't have any leverage with this developer. So this is our opportunity to get as much affordable housing in that lot as possible, the most possible taxes, and compliance with the MBTA zoning regulation. So I strongly urge people to vote in favor of this.
Mr. Robbins.
Okay. David Robbins, 92 George Hill Road. I just want to reemphasize the point that this has become an important part of our MBTA zoning compliance. Without this, our compliance picture becomes considerably more difficult. It might not be impossible, but this has really become a key component of that. We're basically counting on this for compliance with the MBTA communities law.
Is there any other discussion on the motion?
Madam Moderator?
Mr. Jefferson?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a quick point of clarification that the developer at 8 Pine Street is not the same developer that would be working on this project, in case there were any confusion with Mr. Mead's comments earlier. As far as Mr. Yeoman's comments, I think the potential flaw in that is we can vote against this tonight and we can say no, but it precludes the assumption that they will come back and request, the project again, and that's not a certainty. I also think we're talking about different demographics when we talk about the housing in this area. Certainly, increasing the affordability numbers is something that we always try to do. It would be nice to be able to check all 3 boxes instead of just 2 of those with the MBTA overlays. But this is the situation that we're in and the hand that we've been dealt. I think typically, though, you're probably not talking about people who are going to be working in town that will be the focus of those rentals. Is going to be the commuters who live in town and commute eastward. I don't know what that says for a need for 3 bedrooms. I won't, make any assumptions or anything with that, but I think we're talking about different demographics when we compare this project to some of the other projects that are ongoing in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Prisby?
Hi, Ed Prisby, 25 Daniel Drive. I think Matt, Andy, and Dave have done a good job of giving everybody the carrot for the passage of this law, but there is also a stick that no one's talked about here tonight. Communities who do not comply with the law are ineligible for certain programs, and also certain money that comes from the state, including community planning grants, Massachusetts Downtown Initiative, Rural and Small Town Development Fund, Brownfields Redevelopment Fund, Site Readiness Program, Underutilized Properties Program, Collaborative Workspace Program, Real Estate Services Technical Assistance, Community Places Programs, Land Use Planning Grants, Local Acquisitions for Natural Diversity Grants, and Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Planning and Project Grants. In addition, the town of Holden, which voted against this, is now being sued by the Central Massachusetts Housing Alliance. So those are all fun things to look forward to, too, in case you don't know.
Any other discussion on Article 48? All those in favor of Article 48 as amended, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried, 113 to 27. Article 49.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Foley?
I move that the town vote to amend Appendix A 3.2.3.1 Use Regulation Schedule of the Grafton Zoning Bylaw as detailed in Article 49 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting Warrant, and further vote to authorize non-substantive changes to the lettering, numbering, and pagination of the zoning bylaw to be consistent with said bylaw.
Second.
Did I hear a second? Okay, motion made and seconded. Before there is any discussion on the motion, the planning board would like to speak on this.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Justin Wood, current clerk of the planning board, sorry. The public hearing was opened on September 25th, 2023, and was continued to October 2nd, 2023, then October 12th, 2023. At its meeting on October 12th, 2023, the Grafton Planning Board conducted a public hearing to consider the proposed amendments to the Grafton zoning bylaw to add requirements for seasonal outdoor dining under business uses in section 3.2.3.1. Seasonal outdoor dining will be allowed via special permit and/or site plan review in each district, except the R40 and R20 residential districts. Such use will be reviewed and approved by the planning board unless the application is a non-conforming use or structure. Any non-conforming use or structure will be governed by the provisions in section 3.4 non-conforming conditions. Board members present were Chairman Robert Hassinger, Vice Chairman David Robbins, Clerk Justin Wood, and members Prabhu Venkatraman and James Davidson. No public comment on this article was received. The article was recommended by the town planner and the planning board to allow restaurants to pursue permitting for seasonal outdoor dining, which flourished during the COVID-19 pandemic, to bolster economic development and to support local businesses while allowing the board to have discretionary approval. Based on the board's deliberations on the merits of the proposed amendment, the planning board voted 5 in favor and 0 opposed on October 12th, 2023 to recommend Article 49.
Thank you, Justin. Any discussion on Article 49? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. This requires a 2/3 vote. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. Voting is closed. I declare this motion carries by the required 2/3 majority, 132 to 7. Article 50.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Alamo.
I move that the town vote to amend Section 5.10.2, definitions of the Grafton zoning bylaw, as detailed in Article 50 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, and further vote to authorize non-substantive changes to the lettering, numbering, and pagination of the zoning bylaw to be consistent with said bylaw.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Before we open discussion, the planning board would like to make a brief statement.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Justin Wood, Clerk of the Planning Board. The public hearing was opened on September 25th, 2023, and continued to October 2nd, 2023, then October 12th, 2023. At its meeting on October 12th, 2023, the Grafton Planning Board conducted a public hearing to consider the proposed amendments to the Grafton zoning bylaw to modify two definitions for marijuana retailer and off-site medical marijuana dispensary. In Section 5.10.2, the modification ensures the town of Grafton is in compliance with the most current Cannabis Control Commission's regulations. Board members present were Chairman Robert Hassinger, Vice Chairman David Robbins, Clerk Justin Wood, and members Prabhu Venkatraman and James Davidson. No public comment on the article was received. The article was recommended by the town planner and the planning board to ensure the board is not imposing different requirements on marijuana establishments than those imposed by the CCC. Based on the board's deliberations on the merits of the proposed amendment, the planning board voted 5 in favor and 0 opposed on October 12, 2023 to recommend Article 50.
Any discussion on Article 50? Hearing none, this requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion has passed by the required 2/3 vote, 123 to 15. Article 51.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Mead.
I move that the town vote to amend Section 3.2.3.2 Intensity of Use Schedule of the Grafton zoning bylaw as detailed in Article 51 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, and further vote to authorize non-substantive changes to the lettering, numbering, and pagination of the zoning bylaw to be consistent with the said bylaw.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. The planning board would like to make a brief presentation.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Justin Wood, Clerk of the Planning Board. At its joint meeting on October 12, 2023, the Grafton Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals conducted a public hearing to consider the proposed amendment to the Grafton zoning bylaws to add requirements in Section 3.2.3.2 for tool sheds via table footnotes for each zoning district's side and rear minimum yard setbacks. The modification reduces the side and rear setback requirements to 5 feet for tool sheds for 1 and 2 family principal uses only. Tool sheds shall not occupy more than 200 square feet of lot area. Applicants wishing to apply will be required to apply for a zoning permit through the building department, eliminating the need to apply for a variance through the Zoning Board of Appeals. Planning Board members present were Chairman Robert Hassinger, Vice Chairman David Robbins, Clerk Justin Wood, and members Prabhu Venkatraman and James Davidson. Zoning Board of Appeals members present were Chairman Brian Waller, Vice Chairman Bill McCusker, Clerk Kay Reed, and members Peter Adams and Bill Yemmons. Vice Chairman McCusker commented on the need for the article to pertain to tool sheds only, underscoring the originally proposed language in the warrant should be changed from accessory structures to tool sheds via a floor amendment. Chairman Hassinger commented on the importance of setbacks as they relate to neighborhood character and fire protection. He also expressed concern that the definition of tool shed in the ZBL does not provide enough regulation or clarification over what constitutes tools associated with and used for residential purposes. He argued some may have different interpretations. Mr. Wood questioned why the footnote applies to the office light industrial and industrial districts. Katrina Kosovo, ZBA administrator, stated that it is because there are many pre-existing non-conforming uses that the change will apply to. Lastly, Mr. Adams voiced his support for the article and the need for relief for homeowners. The article was recommended by the town planner, the zoning enforcement officer, and the zoning board of appeals to allow property owners to construct tool sheds on smaller lots constrained by large setback requirements. The article will remove the need for a variance from the ZBL for smaller lots that cannot conform to standard requirements. The town planner, the planning board, and the zoning board of appeals reviewed the proposed article, and there will be an amendment that I believe the ZBA will be presenting to amend by replacing footnote 10 with reduced to 5 feet for side and rear setbacks for tool sheds for 1 and 2 family principal uses that do not occupy more than 200 square feet. Based on the board's deliberation on the merits of the proposed amendment, the planning board voted 5 in favor and 0 opposed on October 12, 2023 to recommend Article 51 and amend the language printed in the warrant article as described above.
Good evening. Brian Waller, 130 Keith Hill Road, also chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I move that the motion for Article 51 be amended by inserting after the words as detailed in Article 51 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, the words with the changes listed for Article 51 in the handout entitled Fall Town Meeting 2023 Change Report. So in English, basically it changes it from what was proposed in the warrant as accessory structures to specifically say tool sheds.
Second.
Motion to amend has been seconded. Do you have a printed copy of the motion to amend? Well, now, is there any discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none. All those in favor in the motion to amend Article 51, please press 1. All those opposed, please press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion to amend has carried 125 to 8. Is there any discussion on Article 51 as amended? Because that has been voted. Now we can vote on Article 51 as amended. This requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of Article 51 as amended, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried by the required 2/3 majority, 128 to 5. Article 52.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Often.
I move that the town vote to amend Section 2.1, Uses and Structures of the Grafton zoning bylaw as detailed in Article 52 of the Grafton Fall 2023 Town Meeting warrant, and further vote to authorize non-substantive changes to the lettering, numbering, and pagination of the zoning bylaw to be consistent with said bylaw.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. The Planning Board would like to make a brief statement on this before we vote.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Justin Wood, Planning Board Clerk. The public hearing was opened on September 25th, 2023, and was continued to October 2nd, 2023, then October 12th, 2023. At its meeting on October 12th, 2023, the Grafton Planning Board conducted a public hearing to consider the proposed amendment to the Grafton zoning bylaws to add a definition for tractor-trailer. In Section 2.1, the addition ensures the town of Grafton can adequately regulate vehicles qualifying under this description and improve quality of life for residents and visitors. Board members present were Chairman Robert Hassinger, Vice Chairman David Robbins, Clerk Justin Wood, and members Prabhu Venkatraman and James Davidson. No public comment on the article was received. The article was recommended by the town planner, the zoning enforcement officer, and the planning board to allow for the ability to exercise discretion and enforcement over tractor-trailer vehicles, as well as have a definition to align with ZBL language in sections 3.2.3.1 and 4.2.4.2.1. Based on the board's deliberations on the merits of the proposed amendment, the planning board voted 5 in favor and 0 opposed on October 12, 2023 to recommend Article 52.
Thank you, Justin. Is there any discussion on Article 52? Hearing none. This requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion has carried by the required 2/3 vote, 125 to 11. Article 53.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Jefferson?
I move that the town vote to enter a tax increment financing agreement with Feedback Earth, Inc. as negotiated by the Grafton TIF Finance Committee, Grafton TIF Committee, excuse me.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on Article 53?
Brian Hull, 68 Carroll Road. My question is regarding TIF. What did you negotiate in terms of the TIF? How does it affect us here in town? And what past history have you looked at that supports your argument to do a TIF in the town of Grafton?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Mead?
I'm a member of the TIF committee along with Carl Moisen and Marcia Platt. What we did is we met with Feedback Earth many times concerning this project. The TIF, or the TIF is based on the addition to the building that they were putting on only. It's not based on the entire company, existing buildings that are there. We negotiated a 5-year TIF that in the first year would be 100% of the total value or the total tax on the addition. In the second year, it's 75%, then it goes to 50, then it goes to 25, and then it goes to 1%. So that is the deal that we ended up negotiating with Feedback Earth.
And any history that you looked at from other towns that can support your argument that this is a good idea?
Well, we didn't look at other towns. I mean, the people, myself and the other 2 members of the committee, are very experienced in this type of thing. And normally TIFs are given for very, very large projects, which would make more of an effect on the taxes of the town. This is a very minor. It's based on $2 million. So this is very minor. A minor TIF to encourage a business to help them along.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Prasad?
Yeah, can I speak to some of the, just some of the numbers that are involved in the TIF?
Yes.
So the TIF was negotiated for a 5-year period, like Ray said, but it's tied directly to jobs. And so in order to keep getting the TIF, you have to prove that you've created the jobs that you said you were going to create. So this particular TIF has a 30-job stipulation in it, 16 of which have to be Grafton residents unless they can show a hardship that no Grafton residents are applying. It's also based on a increased valuation of $720,000. So as Ray gave the numbers, 100%, 75, 50, 25, and 1. That's a total tax decrease only on that $720,000 is $32,000 over the entire 5 years. Their current tax bill in fiscal '23 was $198,000. So it is, as far as TIFs go, and I've seen a lot of TIFs in a lot of communities, it is pretty minor and short in duration. Usually you see TIFs that go out to 15 or 20 years. This one being only 5 years is probably more realistic given that it's just on the addition and not the entirety of their property.
So the TIFs themselves, for each segment, for each percentage, you're going to be checking to make sure that the employment level is where they've guaranteed it will be.
Correct. Yep.
And we're giving them, how much again? $32,000?
$32,000 over the 5 years. So it's
over 5 years.
Yeah, it's like it starts at $12,000 at 100%, and then it's 10, 6, 3, and however much that adds up to 32.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Leanne Gagnon, 17 Maplewood Drive. While I understand this is a very small TIF agreement, I would like maybe a stipulation in there that they're going to fix the problems that they have. I don't know if everybody remembers, but this was the company that Grafton made the news when the smell went for towns and towns a couple of years ago. And I know that Ray said that this problem was fixed when he initially worked on this TIF, but I can tell you that it's not fixed. I can tell you that there's been 127 complaints made by residents in the area. I can tell you that there's 14 calls this year alone with the Grafton Fire Department, and that as of last week, they weren't even in compliance with the Grafton Fire Department. I don't know if they've fixed that now, but why are we giving a company money, taxpayer money, to expand a business that they haven't fixed the problems that they already had? They were fined by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. There's still complaints literally every week, and there's no answer as to why, because, I mean, they were supposed to fix the problem and it's not. And in an article from that time, they said they were working with the Grafton Board of Health. They said they were working with the town administrator to fix the problem. So is it fixed?
Madam Moderator, you seem to have different numbers than I have.
Mm-hmm.
So the complaints that we got out of DEP, just looking for since August, there were, it looks like 3 in August and 2 in September. And they did relay to the town administrator's office in August that they were having trouble with the deodorizer, which they said they have replaced and worked. During that time, there was an elevated count in the hotline.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, it has dissipated. So that's what I'm seeing for data. So if you have,
I have the Board of Health, their email that has said there's been 127 complaints because they get the reports directly sent to them when we have to call the hotline, which is still in place. The hotline to call and complain about the smell and the odor is still in place. So from our Grafton Board of Health, that's how many complaints have been lodged. Now, some of them might be unfounded because by the time they get there, the company will shut down. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I see where Grafton wants to go with business, but it needs to be responsible. And if there's residents in town suffering, then why are we trying to give this company money? Maybe they need to do it right first and then talk about a TIF. Because if you can see that there is complaints in September, then it's not right. If they're not in compliance with the fire department, then it's not right. That's my opinion. I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Madam Moderator?
Mr. Mead?
I just want to say, mention a couple of things about this particular piece of property. Back a long time ago, it used to be a steel mill. And then a company, there was a major fire there, and a company took it over and started doing the same type, almost the same type of process that Feedback Earth does. And that was not good. The rats over there were so big you could put saddles on them. It was just awful. Feedback Earth came in and invested an enormous amount of money and never came to us for a TIF or anything like that. And have they had issues? Oh, absolutely. They have had issues. They are probably the most watched business in this town, I don't know, since Press Wheel, I guess. I don't know. But they're working at it. The issue that they had at the beginning with the smell, and by the way, I live in the neighborhood, and I smelled it, and they were taking in soy, and they were putting soy through their process, and that's what created that bad odor. And there are odors now. There's no doubt about it. There are odors now. A lot of it smells like, bread cooking, and it doesn't really bother me. But the TIF committee looked at this business as a new way to get rid of food waste, an environmentally safe way of getting rid of food waste, and they're still working at it. They will get it right. There are no rats over there. The place is clean. And have they had their problems? Yes, they have had their problems. So is Wyman Gordon's. I'd be more concerned about Wyman Gordon's than Feedback Earth. And I urge you to vote yes on this.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this article? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion has carried 85 to 48. Article 54.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Foley?
I move that the town vote to appropriate $74,114 from the fiscal year 2024 Community Preservation Budgeted Reserve for a purpose of restoring and preserving the Grafton Public Library cupola, with funds to be expended by June the 30th, 2025, unless extended by majority vote of the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Before I open this for discussion, Roger Trahane, Chair of the Grafton Public Library Board of Trustees, would like to make a brief statement.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This is actually Roger Trahane, 4 Old Upland Road, Hassan-Amesset. I'll give some historic perspective to that. Chair Board of Library Trustees, and this is a very important yet non-controversial vote that everyone should vote yes on. And it basically uses CPC monies only on the back end if needed. And there's already 2/3 of the upfront monies committed to shore up the structural integrity of the library cupola and roof, $70,000 of which is a Mass Historic grant that if you, and do not dare vote no on this, but if there was a no vote, that $70,000 historic grant would go away, and we'd be back in front of town meeting asking for capital money. So again, this shores up the structural integrity of the cupola and the roof, and the library trustees have also committed to an annual maintenance plan on this. So please join me in voting yes for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Is there any other discussion on this article? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried 119 to 16. Article 55.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Alamo?
I move that the town vote to transfer and appropriate $25,000 from each of the following accounts: the Fairview Cemetery Perpetual Care Account, the Riverside Cemetery Perpetual Care Account, and the Pine Grove Cemetery Perpetual Care Account, for a total transfer and appropriation of $75,000 for the purpose of funding cemetery roadway repairs.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carries 115 to 4. Article 56.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Mead.
I move that the town vote to transfer and appropriate $88,768 from free cash to the Engine 1 replacement capital account.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carries 129 to 3. Article 57.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Opton.
I move that the town vote to transfer and appropriate $62,138.28 from free cash to the opioid settlement fund.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried 88 to 3. Article 58.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Jefferson.
I move that the town vote to transfer and appropriate $32,500 from free cash to the DE&I audit capital account.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carries 112 to 11. Article 59.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Foley?
I move that the town vote to remove a parcel of land located at 15 Powerline Drive, Book 11125, page 258, from the conservation provisions of Article 97 of the amendments to the Massachusetts Constitution.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in this requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion as carried by the required 2/3 vote, 123 to 10. Article 60.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Alamo?
I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to enter into a long-term written lease with the Grafton Water District with options to extend for a period not to exceed 30 years for the purposes of constructing a water treatment facility and associated equipment and materials on a portion of the property owned by the town of Grafton located off of Powerline Drive in Grafton, Book 1125, page 258. The written lease to include terms, conditions, and limitations as the Select Board deems necessary and proper.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Before we discuss the motion, the Grafton Water District would like to make a brief statement. Yep. There will also be a visual presentation.
Great, thank you. My name is Robert Williamson. I am a representative of the Grafton Water District. I work for the consulting firm of Wright Pierce, and I'm helping the district with their issue. They asked me to provide a quick and brief overview of the problem at hand here with their Trinity source and why this piece of property is so needed for their needs. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of the history well itself, what their current problem is, what the solution to it is, and the potential impact to the community. So next. So real briefly, the Trinity Ave well is obviously located off at the end of Trinity Ave Drive. It was constructed in 2017. It consists of 3 shallow gravel-packed wells. It is the district's largest source of groundwater that supplies the distribution system. They disinfect the groundwater and they adjust it for pH for corrosion control as required by regulations. At the time in 2017, the water quality was very good with very low iron and manganese, which are naturally occurring minerals in the water, but they did not require any treatment of any type. Next. The problem has been that over time, conditions in the groundwater have changed and appear to have changed quite substantially. The iron and manganese levels have increased. We've just completed a study. More study is needed, but it's certain that those levels have increased. And the problem is when you introduce chlorine, which is an oxidant, it converts those minerals that are dissolved in the water into sediment, basically. They're pretty much harmless, but they then go out into the distribution system, they settle in the pipes, and then when there are high water use events or a fire flow event or something of that nature, it stirs up the water and creates dirty water, as has been experienced by the neighborhood and customers around the Powerline Drive. On top of that, I'm sure everybody has heard about in the news, PFAS is a contaminant that everyone's talking about these days in groundwater. And both at the federal level and the state level, they're requiring districts to test for this and treat it when required. So PFAS is now a regulated contaminant in the state of Massachusetts, and there is not a federal regulation as of yet, but there's going to be. Grafton's supply, the PFAS in their supply is currently below the Massachusetts regulations of 20 parts per trillion. But the state, I should say the federal EPA is expected to reduce the requirements and make it a federal mandate that PFAS cannot be any higher than 4 parts per trillion. Grafton's supply currently contains about on average 9, so they would be over the standard. So what is the solution? Obviously, it's treatment. For the iron and manganese, it's quite common. The groundwater is very similar to that of many New England groundwaters. It's a fairly simple process of treatment using a special media, and through pressure filtration, they can remove all of that iron and manganese. PFAS actually is very similarly treated with carbon, basically, in a pressure filter. It's a new technology, it's a new treatment, but it works very effectively. The issue is with PFAS treatment, you have to remove iron and manganese prior to PFAS, or it basically clogs the filter. So both of these need to go hand in hand together. So that kind of brings to the question, so why do we need this piece of property? You could go to the next slide. And you're not going to be able to see very well, but at the very bottom of this picture, you can see a red-lined little thing with 3 dots in it and a little square. That's the Trinity Ave well site. And what it's depicting, and I apologize, people can't see it all, is it's a very small little sliver of land and does not lend itself to expansion for treatment whatsoever. There's just no room. It's surrounded by floodplains and the ponds and the streams there. There's just nothing to work with. Up in the upper left-hand corner, where there's a little blue blob, and then just to the left of that is a rectangular box. That is the property that we're talking about in question. What's the rectangle that is shown there is a depiction of an approximate, and it's very conservative, it's overly sized, of what this treatment facility would look like. So when the magnitude of that little square compared to the little one here, you can see it's just not going to work. Never mind trying to construct it. So that's why that site is very important. Next slide. So we're way ahead of the game, but the district wanted me to convey that if this is approved and they go to treatment, it's going to require a fairly large building. All this is depicting is that they are committed to working with the people, the neighborhoods there, we can design a building that looks however works for everybody. These are just some depictions of barn-style buildings that we've done, some looks. So we would do our best to blend it in with the architecture, the buildings there. The site actually works fairly well, that it may not even be all that visual because it's heavily treed and it's in a very kind of depressed area. So the impact might be minimal. But again, we're way ahead of the game, but they just wanted me to convey that the intent would be to work with the community to design and construct something that is hopefully appeasing to everybody. And lastly, wrapping up, so what is the benefit of this? Well, again, as I mentioned, this is the district's largest source. It provides about 25% of their supply, so it is critical to their operations. This source gives them the resiliency and the redundancy they need, and what that means is with this source, if one of the other ones were to go down, they still have enough capacity to supply the system. The wells go down. They need to take them down for maintenance and things of that nature. Without this, if they took a supply down with only 2 of their sources, it's going to mean interruptions in water supply. And obviously, treatment's going to provide the highest quality water for the community, so that's very important. The alternatives, well, there really isn't any other supply alternatives within the community. They've been pretty much exhausted over time as the district has developed. Again, I mentioned the capacity of the system will be limited, and without it, there will be times when water restrictions may be necessary, especially during periods of high demand, summers and things of that nature, and when there's critical maintenance that needs to be done. So that's it. Some district representatives are here to answer questions if we have any, but they just wanted to give a quick little presentation of the importance of this parcel and what it means to them.
Is there any discussion on the motion as presented?
Hello, Linda Hutchins, 3 Spanish River Road. That piece of land that was very hard to see in the slide, sorry. That's literally in my backyard. And it's in the backyard of a number of residential properties there around Fisherville Pond. And I definitely understand the need for the water quality treatment to occur. There's been a lot of complaints around the neighborhood about dirty water. People's laundry, et cetera, and you don't want to drink it. And I understand that, and I understand the need for treatment and treatment near the well. That piece of property is about 4 acres, the whole piece of property, and it kind of bends around the end of Power Line in Trinity there. So it's abutting a number of residences. It also is about a 200-foot strip that surrounds the riparian area around Fisherville Pond. It's all wooded, it's very natural back there, and it supports wildlife. Any number of the neighbors can tell you that we have all kinds of birds back there. We have turtles that come up every spring and lay their eggs in our yards. There's bald eagles nesting back there. So it's quite a natural area, and the proposal from the Water District is to use about 1 acre of the 4 acres that's back there. So, you know, it's hard to say not in my backyard when it's our immediate water quality that's being treated, and I totally understand the need for that. But I'm hoping that the Select Board in the town would consider some environmental concessions for the loss of that land, because truly they're going to need to cut down trees. They're talking about a 10,000 square foot building. That's pretty substantial in our neighborhood. And that land was originally put in Article 97 as a recreational resource for the neighborhood. And I understand originally some of the kids had a BMX track back there. It's really not used that much anymore, other than for the environmental services that it provides around Fisherville Pond. So I'm hoping that the Select Board would be able to negotiate a land swap, or maybe a concession like a forest management plan back there. We've also got a number of invasive weeds that attack our backyards from that area. So maybe something like that could be negotiated, or maybe a land swap in another conservation area. I know that the property and the project will have to go through Conservation Commission review because it is adjacent to the wetlands there. And that's going to put them up in the corner, kind of even closer to the backyards. But I just would like to see some kind of concession given either to recreation in the neighborhood, the environment back there, and for the neighbors, because, you know, that was part of the attraction of buying in this neighborhood, is we had that nice wooded buffer in our backyard. So I'd like to not just give that away if we can. Another problem we've got back out there on Fisherville Pond is water chestnuts that have been really fouling the pond and kind of prohibiting recreational use. We do have the boat launch on the other side at the, I think it's called Riverview Park, but it's been getting so choked up back there in the summer that you really can't paddle much back there. So maybe that's another environmental concession we could ask for, some control of the water chestnut back there in Fisherville Pond. So thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Moderator?
Mr. Jefferson?
If I could just have a chance to respond to some of those comments. I think they were very valid concerns, and I thank you for sharing them with us tonight. As was mentioned before, with some of the preliminary building designs, we are putting the cart before the horse a little bit here. Those are certainly concessions that we can consider and bring up in further discussions. The Grafton Water District has been very amenable to any discussions that we've had so far. However, we can't get anything more firm than what we currently have without you voting for the power for us to enter into these negotiations. as with any other municipal project, it would be subject to all the same conservation laws. It would go before the Concom, the Planning Board, all the appropriate channels. It would be time for public input as we, traditionally build into these procedures. So I hope that alleviates some of your concern.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this article? Hearing none. This does require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare that the motion has carried by the required 2/3 vote, 121 to 8. Article 61.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Mead.
I move that the town vote to transfer and appropriate $50,000 from the sewer retained earnings account to the sewer overflow repair.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Trahan?
Someone needed that for their bingo card.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the article? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried, 119 to 4. Article 62.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Often.
I move that the town vote to transfer and appropriate $150,000 from the sewer retained earnings account to the O&M emergency account.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried, 113 to 4. Article 63.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Jefferson.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to negotiate with property owners for the acquisition by gift, purchase, or eminent domain of certain temporary and permanent easements on real property abutting Waterville Circle that are necessary for making Waterville Circle a public way.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried, 104 to 8. We are at 2 hours and 13 minutes. I want to take a moment to recognize all of the amazing hard work, the team of people who put our town meeting together. Our select board, Matt, Andy, Anne Marie, Mark, and Ray, the Finance Committee for reviewing and making recommendations on every article. Our audio-visual technical support this evening, Alex and Lorenzo from Grafton High School, offering anyone a microphone that no one took them up on. GCTV for broadcasting, and for those of you who may not have noticed, Bill was not over here on the side with his camera equipment because there are now 3 cameras in the room filming and observing from all angles, so the playback is going to be so much more interesting than usual. For those of you who watch it as soon as it's posted, that might just be me. Our town council, Ginny Kramer. Our town clerk's office, Candy, and all of our election workers. We're coming up on November, and this is a very busy time for them. Forgetting something. I'll move to the next thing. Our town administrator's office, Evan, William, Cindy, and Amber. Thank you so much. What am I forgetting? Please remember to return your remote controls on your way back in. Amy Marr for creating our bingo cards. Thank you so much. I think that's everything. Did I do everything? Oh, the Bylaw Study Committee for all of the work over the last 2+ years and just the outreach and the volume of changes that you had to review. I get all of the emails every time that a update in a batch was released, and keeping up with them was no small feat. So I can't imagine how much it took to get that work done, and we should all be very thankful to them for the time and talent that they put into it. Last but not least, Article 64.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Foley?
I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to negotiate with property owners for the acquisition by gift, purchase, or eminent domain of certain temporary and permanent easements on real property abutting Joncas Terrace that are necessary for making Joncas Terrace a public way.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. Voting is closed. I declare the motion carried, 96-7. It is now 9:17. I will entertain a motion to dismiss.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Mead.
I move to close the 2023 Fall Town Meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, by a show of hands. I declare the motion carried. The meeting is dismissed. Please return your remote controls. Have a good night, and we'll see you in the spring.